The wind was biting cold that evening, blowing through the narrow streets of downtown Cleveland. Cars sped past with headlights cutting through the mist, horns echoing against the brick walls. On the corner of Ashland Avenue, under a flickering streetlight, an old man sat hunched over on a park bench with a thin blanket wrapped around his shoulders. His gray beard was untrimmed, his face weathered, and his hands trembled as he rubbed them together for warmth. His name was Raymond Cole. Once upon a time, he'd worn a badge, one that commanded respect and fear across the city. But that was years ago, before tragedy stripped everything away. His family, his home, his purpose. Now he was just another face the world ignored. As he leaned back and looked at the hazy skyline, the faint wail of a siren echoed from a distance. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried old memories, memories of the days when he was the one chasing the sound. A patrol car slowed down nearby. Two officers sat inside. Officer Trent Mason, a cocky rookie in his early 30s with slicked back hair and a smug grin, and his partner, Officer Brad Wheeler, a broad-shouldered man who had been on the force long enough to lose most of his empathy. Trent nudged Brad with his elbow. "Yo, look at that guy. Been seeing him around this corner all week. Probably another drunk or junkie." Brad snorted. "Yeah, they're all the same. I don't get how people let themselves get that low." They parked near the curb, pretending to do a routine patrol, but really they were bored. Trent stepped out, adjusting his jacket, and walked toward Raymond. The smell of damp concrete and stale coffee lingered around the bench. "Hey, old man," Trent called out. "You can't sleep here. Public property. Move it." Raymond looked up slowly. His voice was soft, gravelly. "I'm not sleeping, officer, just resting a bit. It's cold tonight." Trent folded his arms. "Yeah, well, maybe you should have thought about that before ending up out here. We're not running a charity zone." Brad laughed from the car window. "Man, he looks like he hasn't bathed in weeks, probably hiding something under that blanket." Raymond sighed. "I'm not hiding anything. I'm just—" Trent cut him off, stepping closer. "You got ID on you?" Raymond hesitated, then reached into his worn coat pocket and pulled out a folded, faded wallet. The officer snatched it and flipped through. Inside was an old, laminated police ID, yellowed from age. The name read, Detective Raymond Cole, Cleveland PD. Trent blinked and chuckled. "What's this? You used to be a cop?" Brad stepped out of the car and walked over. "Oh man, no way, look at this, Detective Cole! You telling me you went from catching bad guys to living on park benches? What happened? You arrest yourself?" Both men laughed, loud and cruel. Raymond's eyes darkened, but he said nothing. Trent tossed the wallet back at him, carelessly. "Man, that's pathetic. I bet you made all those speeches about protect and serve, huh? Guess nobody's protecting or serving you now." Brad smirked. "Don't waste your time, Trent. Guys like him love the pity. You give them 1 inch, they'll beg for cash." Raymond quietly placed his wallet back into his coat. "You shouldn't judge people so quickly, officers. You never know who someone used to be or what they've been through." Trent scoffed. "Oh, spare me the fortune cookie wisdom. Look, old man, if you don't move along, we'll have to write you up for loitering." Before Raymond could respond, the patrol radio crackled. Dispatch reported a suspected assault a few blocks away near Lincoln Diner. The two officers immediately turned to head back to their car. Brad smirked. "You're lucky we got real work to do. Next time we see you here, we'll run you in." They drove off, tires splashing through puddles. Raymond sat in silence, staring at the ground. His hand brushed against the edge of the old police badge tucked deep inside his coat. He closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "Still the same city, just colder." Later that night, the Lincoln Diner buzzed with flashing lights. A young waitress, Amber, stood outside trembling, explaining what happened to the officers. "He just came in yelling, demanding money. Then he hit Mr. Franco with a bottle and ran." Trent puffed his chest. "All right, we'll check the alleyways. Guy couldn't have gotten far." They searched for half an hour before Brad spotted movement near the old storage building behind the diner. There, behind that dumpster. Both drew their guns and rushed forward. "Freeze!" Trent shouted. A man bolted out, scruffy, wearing a torn jacket. He sprinted toward the dark street. Trent tackled him to the ground. The suspect thrashed wildly. "Get off me, man!" he yelled. Brad grabbed his arm and twisted it back. "Stop resisting!" Raymond had wandered close by, drawn by the sirens. From across the street, he saw the commotion. His eyes sharpened as he watched the officers struggle. Something about the suspect's movement caught his attention. The limp in his left leg, the nervous glances. He'd seen that before. He slowly stepped closer. "Officers, be careful. Check his right pocket." Trent turned sharply. "What did I tell you, old man? Get out of here before—" But before he could finish, the suspect's hand went into his jacket. A flash of silver glinted. Raymond shouted, "Knife! Drop it now!" Brad turned just in time to see the blade come up. The suspect slashed wildly, grazing his vest. Trent stumbled backward, gun raised. In that split second, Raymond lunged forward from behind, kicking the suspect's arm. The knife clattered to the ground. Brad tackled the man again, cuffing him tightly this time. Both cops stood panting. Trent stared at Raymond, stunned. You just saved my life." Raymond didn't smile. Old habits die hard. The sirens grew louder as backup arrived. The suspect was hauled into a squad car. Trent turned back to Raymond. How did you know where he hid the knife?" Raymond's eyes drifted toward the alley shadows. "You start noticing patterns when you've seen enough darkness." Brad scratched his head, still processing. "Wait, you said you used to be a detective, right? So this is real. You weren't lying." Raymond looked at him wearily. "I never needed to lie about who I was. People just stopped listening." The two officers exchanged a look. For the first time, their laughter was gone, replaced by quiet guilt. Before we continue this story, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. We'd love to know. And be sure to like and subscribe. In the following days, the department buzzed with talk about the homeless man who stopped a stabbing. The story spread quickly. Some called him a hero, others thought it was exaggerated. But the story reached someone who recognized the name, Captain Elena Brooks, a respected veteran officer who had served with Raymond decades ago. She couldn't believe it. Raymond Cole? No way. He disappeared after the 2015 case. That case. The one that had shattered everything. She immediately requested a report from the precinct where the incident happened. When she saw the photo attached, her heart sank. It really was him. Elena decided to find him. Raymond spent the next few nights at a shelter, but the memories haunted him. He'd once been the lead investigator in one of Cleveland's most infamous kidnapping cases, the Marisol Hayes abduction. The pressure had been immense, and when the child's body was found days later, the media turned on him. A single misstep in his report led to his suspension. He'd lost his job, then his wife, Joanne, who couldn't bear to see him drowning in guilt. The house, the pension, gone. He left everything behind, drifting through shelters, odd jobs, and nights under the open sky. Now, sitting in a cafeteria corner of the shelter, he stirred his coffee absently, watching other residents laugh at a football game on TV. "Mr. Cole?" a gentle voice said. He turned. It was Captain Brooks, wearing civilian clothes but unmistakably confident. "Elena," he said softly, recognizing him instantly. She smiled sadly. "You look different. It's been a long time." "I didn't think anyone would remember me," he murmured. "Oh, everyone remembers you. You were one of the best detectives we ever had." Raymond chuckled bitterly. "Until I wasn't." Elena sat across from him. "I heard what you did, saving those officers. I don't know what you've been through, Ray, but that's not something you lose. You still have that instinct, the heart of a cop." He stared at her hands clasped on the table. "That heart broke a long time ago." Elena leaned forward. "Listen, there's something you should know. The man you stopped, the one with the knife, he's connected to a bigger case. We found evidence in his hideout that links him to a human trafficking ring. And guess what? He's the same man you were investigating before your suspension. Marisol Hayes' abductor wasn't working alone." Raymond froze. The world seemed to spin. "What did you just say?" Elena nodded. "The case was never fully closed. We've been reopening it slowly, but you just blew it wide open again." Raymond's eyes filled with disbelief and rage, not at her, but at the years wasted living in shame. "So I was right. All along, I was right." Elena touched his arm. "Listen, you can still help. Come back, Ray. We'll make this right." He shook his head. "No one would take me seriously." "I would," she said firmly. "Let me handle the paperwork. Just meet me at headquarters tomorrow morning. We'll start from there." That night, Raymond lay awake on his shelter cot. For the first time in years, a fire burned inside him, not for revenge, but for redemption. Meanwhile, across town, Trent and Brad sat in their patrol car, both silent for once. Trent finally spoke. "You ever think about that old guy? The way he moved, the way he shouted 'knife' before it happened? Dude knew what he was doing." Brad nodded. "Yeah, I feel bad for how we treated him. Makes you think how many people we write off every day just because of how they look." Trent sighed. "We should apologize or thank him properly. They didn't know that by the next day, they'd be caught in something much bigger, something that would test their courage, their loyalty, and everything they thought they knew about right and wrong." The next morning, the gray clouds hung low over Cleveland, as if the sky itself was weighed down by secrets. Rain drizzled over the streets, soaking the city in a dull melancholy. Inside the police headquarters, fluorescent lights flickered as Captain Elena Brooks stood near her office window, arms crossed, waiting. At precisely 9:12 a.m., the door creaked open. Raymond Cole stepped inside, his old faded coat clinging to his shoulders, boots still damp from the streets. He looked out of place among the crisp uniforms and polished badges, yet there was something in his eyes, that quiet authority that used to make rookie cops straighten up the moment he entered a room. "Morning, Captain," he said quietly. "Smiling. Still punctual, I see. Some things never change." He gave a faint clucker. "Old habits." "Sit down, Ray. I've been reviewing the files from last night's arrest. The suspect, named Toby Marks, has been on our radar for months. We thought he was just another street criminal. Turns out he's the missing link in a trafficking chain that reaches across state lines." Raymond frowned. "Toby Marks. That name sounds familiar." "It should," Elena said, sliding a thin folder across the desk. "He used to work for Luther Graves. Ring any bells?" Raymond froze. "Graves. I built the case against him, the one that Internal Affairs threw out, the one that got me suspended." Elena nodded grimly. "He's back in business. We think he never stopped." Raymond's heart thudded. All those years of disgrace, of sleeping in shelters and being laughed at, all rooted in one man's corruption. Elena continued, "We need someone who knows how he operates. The current team's young, eager, but they've never dealt with a man like Graves. You have." Raymond stared at the file, torn between pain and duty. You're asking a man the department threw away to help the same department again. I'm asking a cop to finish what he started, Elena replied softly. He exhaled slowly. Then let's finish it. By noon, the precinct buzzed as the homeless man from the viral story walked through the main hall beside the captain. Some officers whispered, others stared in disbelief. Is that really him? He used to be a detective? I thought he was dead. Raymond ignored the stares. He'd been judged before. Their opinions didn't matter. But two faces stood out, Trent Mason and Brad Wheeler, the same officers who'd mocked him days earlier. They stood near the bullpen, their expressions unreadable. Trent hesitated, then stepped forward. Detective Cole? Raymond turned to face him. Trent's voice was quieter this time. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. We shouldn't have treated you like that. You didn't deserve it. Brad nodded awkwardly beside him. Yeah, man, we were jerks. You saved my life. I'll never forget that. Raymond studied their faces, the guilt, the sincerity. He gave a slow nod. What matters is you learn from it. The badge doesn't make you better than people. It just makes you responsible for how you treat them. Trent swallowed. Yes, sir. Elena smiled faintly. Good, because you two are going to help him. Both officers blinked. Wait, what? Raymond chuckled under his breath. Guess karma has a sense of humor. They spent the next few hours briefing. Files, photos, old reports, everything Raymond once built by hand came flooding back. Graves' operation had become sophisticated. A chain of abandoned warehouses along the outskirts, fake shipping companies, and a web of dirty cops who turned a blind eye. Raymond traced his finger over the city map. Graves never changed his pattern. He uses front businesses, scrapyards, storage units, but the real money moves at night through the docks. He trusts only one courier, a guy named Dean Heller. Trent frowned. How do you know all this? Raymond gave him a look. Because I arrested Heller in 2006. He gave me Graves' name before he disappeared. Elena leaned forward. Then we start at the docks tonight, quietly. No sirens, no lights, just us. That night, the four of them, Elena, Raymond, Trent, and Brad, drove in an unmarked SUV toward the Lake Erie docks. The air was thick with fog, the faint hum of machinery echoing across the water. They parked behind an old warehouse, headlights off. Inside, faint voices could be heard, men laughing, the clatter of boxes being moved. Raymond adjusted the earpiece Elena handed him. For the first time in a decade, he felt alive. His senses sharpened, instincts humming. He wasn't a washed-up homeless man anymore. He was a detective again. Remember, Elena whispered, we go in quiet. We just need proof Graves is here. They split up, circling the warehouse. Through a broken window, Raymond saw crates marked with fake shipping labels. One was open. Inside were small plastic bags, unmistakable. Drugs, he murmured into the mic. He's expanded. It's not just trafficking anymore. Then he froze. Across the room, a tall man in a leather coat stood giving orders. Luther Graves. His hair was grayer, but that cruel smirk was the same. Raymond's pulse quickened. He whispered, "Target in sight." But before Elena could respond, the door creaked. Trent had stepped too close to a loose metal sheet. One of Graves' men turned. "Hey, who's there?" The silence shattered. Within seconds, the room exploded in chaos, shouting, running, the click of safeties being released. Raymond rushed in through the side entrance. Shots rang out. Brad ducked behind a forklift. Elena yelled for cover. Raymond moved swiftly, grabbing a pipe from the floor, striking one of the thugs trying to flank Trent. "Down!" he shouted. The air filled with smoke and panic. Graves made for the back exit. Raymond's eyes locked on him, and instinct took over. He chased him into the open air, rain pounding on the docks. Graves turned, pointing a gun. "Should have stayed in the gutter where you belong, Cole." Raymond dove behind a crate as the bullet whizzed past. "You ruined my life, Luther. How many more did you destroy after me?" Graves laughed. "You were an easy scapegoat. I had friends in high places. Still do." Raymond's jaw tightened. Not for long. The sound of sirens grew faint in the distance. Elena must have called for backup. Graves tried to flee toward his car, but Raymond lunged forward, tackling him into the wet gravel. The gun slid away. They struggled, fists colliding, years of rage and regret pouring out. Finally, Raymond pinned him down, cuffing him with trembling hands. "You're done," he hissed. Graves spat out rainwater. "You think they'll believe you? You're a nobody now, a homeless bum." Raymond stared down at him, breathing hard. "Maybe, but even nobodies can bring down the mighty when truth's on their side." By the time the backup units arrived, Graves's men were disarmed, the crates confiscated, and the operation exposed. Trent limped toward Raymond, face bruised but grinning. "Guess you're not so washed up after all." Brad laughed weakly. "Man, this guy's tougher than both of us combined." Elena smiled proudly. "Welcome back, Detective Cole." Raymond looked out toward the lake, where dawn was breaking through the fog. For the first time in years, he felt peace. Days later, news outlets exploded with the headline, "Homeless man helps police uncover major crime ring. Turns out he's a retired detective." Everywhere he went, people stopped him, not out of pity, but respect. The same officers who once mocked him now greeted him with gratitude. One afternoon, as he packed a small duffel bag in the shelter dormitory, Trent and Brad walked in. Trent smiled awkwardly. "Heard you reinstated your pension. You're leaving us already?" Raymond nodded. "Yeah, I got a small cabin up near Mentor on the lake. Quiet place. Time to rest." Brad handed him a brown envelope. "We all pitched in. Just a little something. Food, clothes, whatever you need." Raymond's eyes softened. "You didn't have to." Trent shrugged. "We owed you." He looked at them for a moment, his voice calm. "No, boys, you owe yourselves, because how you treat people when they seem worthless says everything about who you are." A few weeks later, Raymond sat on his cabin porch, sipping coffee, the morning sun spilling through the trees. His phone buzzed with a message from Elena. "Graves confessed everything. The department owes you a public apology, but I know you never did it for that. Proud of you, partner." He smiled faintly and typed back, "Justice doesn't need an audience, just courage." He looked out at the horizon, a single tear rolling down his cheek. Not from sadness, but relief. Somewhere, the echoes of laughter that once humiliated him faded into the wind. In their place was silence. Peaceful, earned silence. Respect is not about rank or wealth. It's about humanity. Every person you meet deserves dignity because kindness costs nothing, but changes everything. If you want more content like this, then hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our videos. Thanks for watching.